Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're on a pretty fascinating mission, actually. We're doing a cross-cultural deep dive into how menopause is seen, how it's understood, and, how it's managed across four very different cultural lenses.
Yeah, you sent us this incredible stack of sources, and we're here to give you the shortcut, really. The most important, maybe the most surprising, and definitely the most actionable insights.
Okay, so we're mapping out four big systems.
That's right. We've got the Western biomedical approach, then traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, and finally, Mesoamerican traditional medicine.
And we're not just comparing, a list of symptoms. We're digging into the whole structure of care.
Exactly. For each one, we're asking, what are the benefits, really? What are the confirmed risks? And I think this is crucial. What's the cultural support like? What's that community context?
Which can be so different from the often very quick clinical Western approach.
Right. So we're looking at definitions, symptoms, treatments, and then we're really laying it all out. The evidence, the quality of that evidence, and most importantly, the safety warnings.
So we have to start with the one most of us know best.
Yeah.
The Western biomedical model.
Okay, let's unpack it. In this framework, the definition is, it's very physiological, it's hormonal.
It's just when your periods stop.
Basically, yeah.
Well,
Usually around age 51, and it's marked by this sharp drop in estrogen production from the ovaries.
and the symptom list goes way, way beyond the classic hot flush, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. You have the vasomotor symptoms, the hot flushes, the night sweats, sure.
But then there's low mood, anxiety, joint pain, muscle aches, vaginal dryness. It's defined entirely by the lack of a hormone.
Precisely. And because it's defined by what's missing, the main prescribed treatment is hormone replacement therapy, HRT.
Just putting the hormone back in.
Right. It replaces the estrogen that's falling. And it's usually combined with progestogen if a woman still has her uterus. That's really important for protection against uterine cancer.
And the sources are clear, the benefits are, they're powerful. For most people, it's highly effective.
It is. HRT can significantly help with all those things you just listed, from the really severe hot flushes to low mood and even joint pain. And we can't forget the big long-term benefit.
Osteoporosis prevention.
Exactly. It's very effective for that.
Okay, but this is where the conversation always gets complicated, right? The risk.
Yeah, and this is where we need to get really nuanced for you. It's not just one big scary risk. You have to differentiate two things.
Okay.
First, the type of HRT matters a lot. Combined HRT, that's the estrogen plus the progestogen, it does increase the risk of breast cancer.
And the risk goes up the longer you use it.
It does. But, and this is the good news, that risk level drops back down once you stop the therapy.
But the second point is the delivery method. This is a huge distinction we need to make super clear. The difference between a tablet and a patch.
This is absolutely vital. If you take an oral HRT tablet, that carries a recognized risk of blood clots. It's a low risk for women under 60, but it's there. And it slightly increases the stroke risk.
Okay, so that's the pill.
Right. But if you use transdermal delivery, so patches, gels, or sprays, that specific clotting and stroke risk is not there.
Wow, so that's not a small difference. The way you take it fundamentally changes your vascular risk profile.
It's a game-changing distinction, and it often gets lost in the conversation.
Okay, so beyond hormones, what else does the Western system have that's evidence-based?
Well, there are lifestyle changes, of course.
Really?
Regular exercise, both aerobic and low intensity, cutting back on caffeine and alcohol. But there are also prescribed drugs like clonidine or gabapentin.
And psychological treatments.
Yes, and this is a big one. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, has really strong evidence. It's effective for managing low mood, anxiety, and even just the distress that comes with having hot flushes.
And before we move on, you flagged a really important safety warning about regulation.
I did, and this is a critical safety point. We have to draw a very clear line between regulated, tested, licensed products, sometimes called body-identical HRT you get on prescription, and the unregulated, compounded bioidentical hormones that are often sold by private clinics. The sources are very strong on this. They caution against the unregulated stuff because it just doesn't have the required safety and efficacy data.
So with licensed products, you know what you're getting. With unregulated ones, you just don't.
You don't. And that lack of quality control is actually the perfect bridge to our next system. We're leaving the world of, quantifiable estrogen levels, and entering a framework where health is defined by things like energy flow and systemic balance.
We're moving to traditional Chinese medicine, so how do they even think about this life stage?
Well, in TCM, menopause is definitely not just about falling hormones. It's seen as a systemic imbalance, a syndrome, or what they call a zeng, which shows up in different clinical patterns.
And the core idea is this decline of something called kidney qi.
Yes, the gradual decline of kidney qi and what they call hypofunctions of the kidney system.
Can we just pause there? Because when you say kidney, I'm thinking of my two little bean-shaped organs. Is that what we're talking about? Are they failing?
That is such an important question. No. In TCM, the kidney system is so much broader than the physical organ. It's like the body's main battery pack, the reservoir of our essential energy, our jing.
Okay, so it's a concept.
It's a concept that governs vitality, longevity, reproduction, even your bones. So as we age, that battery naturally runs down. Menopause is just a predictable sign of this natural decline. The goal isn't to replace estrogen, it's to restore that vital balance.
Using things like acupuncture, tai chi, and specific Chinese herbal medicine, or CHM.
Exactly. And the sources show that this approach can be really effective. Systematic reviews looking at over 20 randomized controlled trials had some fascinating results.
Especially when they compared it directly to HRT.
Right. What's amazing is that CHM had similar overall effectiveness rates to hormone therapy on those global menopause scales, like the Kupperman Index.
That's incredible.
But even more so, some studies found that CHM was actually better at reducing vasomotor symptoms, so hot flushes and sweats, than the hormone therapy it was compared against.
But you mentioned these trials use standardized formulas, like something called a Kuntai capsule, which isn't really how traditional TCM works, is it?
It's not, and that's the challenge. Traditionally, it's highly individualized. But this brings in that cultural element we wanted to talk about. The treatment isn't just the herbs or the needles, it's the whole process.
The relationship with the practitioner.
Yes. The regular, deep interaction with someone who spends real time diagnosing your specific pattern, giving you lifestyle advice, giving you tools like Tai Chi, that becomes a lifelong practice. It's a kind of deep, ongoing support that you just don't get from a quick prescription renewal.
That structural support is a huge benefit. But the herbs themselves, the safety issue is a massive shadow over all of this.
It is. The warnings, especially from bodies like the NCCIH in the U.S., are stark. It's not about the herbs themselves being inherently bad. It's about manufacturing quality control.
Contamination.
Contamination. CHM products have been found again and again to be contaminated with highly toxic compounds. Heavy metals like arsenic, lead, mercury, even pesticides.
That's terrifying.
And sometimes they find undeclared pharmaceuticals mixed in, like warfarin or just manufacturing errors where they use the wrong herb entirely, which can cause serious organ damage.
So you're trying to fix one problem and could be introducing arsenic into your system.
Yeah.
This regulatory void is a huge hurdle. Let's see if we find the same issues in Ayurveda, another ancient holistic system from India.
With Ayurveda, we are again dealing with energetic principles. Menopause is part of Jaravesta, which is the stage of old age. And during this stage, the Vata dosha naturally becomes dominant.
And that dominance, Vata-vriddhi, is seen as the cause of most of the symptoms.
Correct.
Okay, so we need that jargon filter again. If TCM has kidney energy, what is the Vata dosha? And why does it cause symptoms like anxiety?
So Vata is the principle of movement. It's linked to the elements of air and ether. You can think of Vata's qualities as being cold, dry, light, and irregular.
Okay, irregular.
So if Vata gets aggravated, it creates that same irregular, rapid movement in your body and your mind, and that translates directly to the symptoms that were reported in the clinical studies. Things like anxiety, disturbed sleep, joint pain, which is a movement issue, and physical dryness.
Ah, so the dryness of the Vata element connects directly to the psychological anxiety and the physical state, like vaginal dryness. I get it now.
Exactly. And one clinical study the sources detailed was just incredible. It looked at mental states, or manasika bhavas. Almost 100% of the patients in the study showed a Vata imbalance.
100%.
And the symptoms were so specific, 100% reported anxiety and disturbed sleep. And really high numbers also reported krota, which is anger or irritability, and shoka, which is grief.
So the treatment has to be aimed at fighting those cold, dry, irregular qualities.
Precisely. You balance Vata by bringing in its opposites, warmth, oiliness, and stability. And that's where a formulation like Saraswatarishta comes in. Its oily quality, the Snigdha guna, is meant to counteract Vada's dry quality, the Ruksha guna. It's about restoring balance to the whole system.
The sources also brought up this therapeutic ritual, Shirodhara. That's the one with pouring warm oil on the forehead, right? That sounds like deep cultural and psychological support all in one.
It absolutely is. Shirodhara is so much more than just a physical treatment. The steady, warm flow is thought to improve blood circulation, but proponents believe it directly affects the central nervous system.
The hypothalamus, specifically.
The hypothalamus, which controls homeostasis and our endocrine system. And this is that cultural support we keep talking about. It's a slow, intentional ritual. It's done over multiple sessions, and it provides this sense of deep grounding. It treats the mental turmoil, not just the physical symptom.
That is just a world away from a 5-minute chat in a doctor's office. But again, we have to come back to safety. We're talking about globally sourced herbal products.
And unfortunately, the same regulatory gaps show up here. The NCCIH warnings apply. Ayurvedic preparations have been consistently found to contain toxic levels of lead, mercury, or arsenic.
So the search for this holistic personal balance has to go hand in hand with a search for purity, which is often missing.
It has to.
Okay, let's pivot now all the way to the Western Hemisphere. Mesoamerican Traditional Medicine, or MTM. This system grew up in a really different context, didn't it?
Very different. Often in rural or indigenous communities where there might be a lack of access to or even a mistrust of conventional Western medicine.
And the sources say that while MTM covers reproductive health, menopause isn't really its main focus.
That's right. It seems to be a smaller piece of the puzzle compared to managing things like fertility, pregnancy, and menstrual disorders. And that might be because, historically, it was often just seen as a natural life transition that didn't need a lot of intervention.
So when they do intervene, it's with generations of knowledge about local plants. Are there any MTM herbs that actually have some clinical science backing them up?
Yes, there are a few where the science is starting to catch up with the tradition. A great example is chamomile, Matricaria chamomilla.
Which everyone knows for tea.
Exactly. It's used traditionally as a sedative for anxiety. And now clinical trials have actually confirmed its anxiolytic and antidepressant effects and its ability to improve sleep quality.
What about cinnamon? I just think of that as a spice.
Cinnamomum verum. Clinical trials showed it was effective not just for reducing menstrual pain and bleeding, but also for helping to regulate insulin resistance, which is really relevant for metabolic health later in life.
And fennel was the last one.
Yes, Feniculum vulgar. It was shown in clinical trials to reduce menopausal symptoms on the Kupperman index score. It actually performed as well as the prescription drug mefenamic acid for reducing painful periods.
So the efficacy is there for some specific uses. But what's the unique safety gap for MTM? Is it the same contamination issue?
It's actually a bit different. The gap is a lack of pure foundational data. Unlike TCM and Ayurveda, which have seen some standardization because they're global, most MTM plants have no basic safety or efficacy studies at all.
So it's just a blank space.
A huge blank space. And because self-medication based on advice from friends and family is so common in these communities, researchers are stressing this critical need for basic toxicity studies, especially for plants used as abortifacients, which by their nature are very potent and could be toxic. The risk here is truly the unknown.
Okay, let's try to pull all four of these systems together. We have the Western model, which is this standardized HRT intervention with known quantifiable risks and benefits.
And psychological support like CBT.
Right. And then we have 3 traditional systems offering these holistic, personalized treatments based on internal energy patterns and deep cultural context.
And when you synthesize them, you really see the trade-offs. The potential benefits of the traditional systems are huge. They treat the whole person, not just the symptom, and they offer this powerful cultural and ritual support.
But the trade-offs on the safety side are just as significant.
Exactly. We're seeing 2 different safety problems. For TCM and Ayurveda, the main challenge is quality control. It's contamination. You're worried about lead in a product that's supposed to be pure.
And for MTM?
For MTM, the challenge is a critical knowledge gap. You're using powerful plants where the basic toxicity data is just missing.
So the global health community must be aware of this tension.
Oh, they are. And it's really important to mention the WHO's new Global Center for Traditional Medicine in India. It's supported by $250 million.
And the goal?
It's simple, but it's monumental. to build a rigorous, modern evidence base for these practices and to help integrate them safely into national health systems with a huge focus on quality and safety regulation.
Which brings us right back to you, our listener, who has to navigate all of these complex choices. What is the one key actionable takeaway from all of this?
It's that you have to prioritize purity and quality assurance above everything else. If you're looking at traditional remedies, you have to weigh the potential benefits against these proven safety risks.
So for licensed products like HRT or even licensed herbals, the data is there. It's clearer.
It's clearer. But for traditional remedies that are sourced globally, you have to do your homework. You have to look for third-party testing, for government licenses to make sure you're getting the medicine and not the heavy metals.
So we'll leave you with a final provocative thought to take away from all this. The Western system, it treats a standardized symptom. A hot flush gets estrogen, period.
Right.
But the traditional systems, TCM, with its kidney key deficiency, Ayurveda with its Vata dosha imbalance, they all emphasize treating your unique pattern, your individual constitution, not the single symptom. So what unexpected positive shifts in your holistic well-being might be unlocked if modern healthcare focused a little less on standardized symptoms and a little more on tailored individual biological or energetic patterns?
It really makes you wonder if we're missing a huge piece of the puzzle by ignoring that underlying pattern. Something to explore further, for sure.
We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.